Good morning and welcome everyone. I'm Captain David Campbell. I'm the Strategic Communication Chairman for ALPA's Alaska Pilots. I'm glad to see all of you here today, and honestly, I'm not at all surprised. You have been the driving force of this MEC, and your presence here and in all of our bases is only the latest example of your commitment and resolve to improve our contract. I have never worked for a company where the culture they project is so at odds with the culture I experience. Actions on the company's part speak much louder than their words. Here is just a small list of those actions that have helped create the corporate culture that we experience. A furlough letter mailed so that it would arrive at families' homes on Christmas Eve. A draconian pay cut brought to the cashier arbitration, telling a JCBA arbitration panel that the company was willing to jeopardize the relationship with its pilots, or that they never put their pilots at the top. More recently, I'm sure you noticed the very bizarre behavior of our chief operating officer on the picket line in New York City. And just last week, members of Alaska executive team visibly laughed during an investor relations meeting when asked about the pilots who were picketing outside. The culture Alaska Airlines projects to the world is not the culture I experience. And I'm willing to hazard a guess, it's not the culture you experience either. There is another culture thriving at this company that I do experience. It's one I'm proud of, and it's one our company should be proud of, and that is the pilot culture. The pilot culture is intrinsic to every one of us. It's a culture that understands what it is to be part of a crew. It comes to the aid of its brothers and sisters when called. The pilot culture knows what is right and has the backbone to actually do the right thing. It's a culture evidenced by your presence here today and at all of our bases right now. That pilot culture exists throughout all of ALPA's ranks and is why we have been joined by pilot leaders from across the industry. In fact, providing support for Alaska pilots has become a priority throughout our entire industry, and that is perfectly represented by the men and women on stage with me today. From our brothers and sisters in Canada to the presidents of multiple pilot unions. And I'd like to introduce them now. Captain Joe DePete, president of ALPA. Captain Casey Murray, president of the Southwest Airline Pilots Association. Captain Eric Ferguson, president of the Allied Pilots Association. And Captain Christina Thompson, the strategic planning and strike preparedness chair of WestJet. Thank you for joining us. And I'm sure you know your MEC chairman, Captain Will McQuillan, and your negotiating chairman, First Officer Chris Gruner. In addition to the distinguished guest here on stage with me, we are grateful to have several MEC leaders, national officers, and executive vice presidents with us, including Captain Wes Reed, Executive Vice President of FedEx, Captain Wes Clapper, Executive Vice President of JetBlue, and feel free to stand up when I call your name. Captain Tyler Hawkins, Executive Vice President of Frontier, Captain Chris Kinney, Chairman JetBlue MEC, Captain Alan Christie, Chairman Frontier MEC, First Officer David Adler, Secretary of the Delta MEC, and First Officer Reed Donahue, Executive Administrator at Delta MEC. Thank you, gentlemen. We appreciate you coming. We are also joined today in Seattle and at all of our bases from pilots from over a dozen airlines from across North America. Let's give them a round of applause for stepping up. Thank you all for being here. We will hear from everyone on stage shortly, and I would like to ask Captain Will McQuillan to start us off. Will?
I think I want to start out by just saying, wow, this is amazing and validates everything that we do and everything that everybody works for here. Thank you very much. Welcome, and again, thank you very much for being here today. Today is a very important day. Today is a day to demonstrate your resolve for that contract that you deserve. The contract that is in line with your peers, and I don't have to tell you, the contract that is long overdue. It has been 3 years since we began negotiating. It has been 2 years since our contract amendable date. And the sheer number of you sitting, standing here and in our remote bases echoes that frustration. And even though I can't see the others in the remote bases, there are also huge numbers in attendance, and I'd like to thank them as well. Anchorage, Portland, San Fran, and Los Angeles. As I always say, there is no reason we should be here today. The contract, we're 2 years past the amendable date. There's no reason. The contract that you are seeking, your priorities, they're industry common, and in many cases, nearly a decade overdue, as many of us know. But I want to emphasize that these things are worth fighting for, and that your collective resolve indeed makes a difference. It has made a difference in the past, and it will make a difference today. Again, look at the sheer number of you here and in the bases, and note that this fight isn't just our fight, it's a fight for the industry at large. Thank you again for being here. Your presence matters. Chris?
Wow, it is great to see all of you here today. Your presence is a statement that we are unified and committed to achieving a contract that reflects our contributions to the success of Alaska Airlines. We are here because it is time for Alaska Airlines to stand behind their words, to show you that you are valued and respected as much as your professional peers. Now, negotiations are never without friction, but they are certainly a lot harder when management fails to acknowledge your priorities and works earnestly to achieve them. Unfortunately, this isn't a new problem here, but one that has been building for years. Here are just a few examples. During the JCBA negotiations in 2017, the company pushed back hard on the limited items the pilots brought to the table, leading to an unnecessary arbitration. When that arbitration decision failed to address vital concerns, the company responded by doing the following. They immediately bought 89,000-pound regional aircraft outside the industry standard. They ignored the pilot's pay slope proposal, despite the arbitrator referring the issue back to the parties. And they failed to engage meaningfully in scheduling flexibility negotiations. The one substantial move, an agreement to add a third step trading process, still has not been implemented despite being negotiated in 2018. Additionally, our company has failed to respect our existing contract and has undermined already agreed to provisions. They've expanded their use of bid block holder reassignments well beyond what was intended and understood by ALPA during the 2013 contract negotiations. They've unilaterally removed vacation open time from the system, despite never having done so previously. And they've misused the reserve flying on a day off MOU by denying pickup to reserve pilots in a way not described in the agreement, leading ALPA to make the difficult decision to pull the MOU. So now the problems have piled up. Our scheduling system is broken and gridlocked. We lack confidence in our future with this company, as we don't have the career security provisions that every other mainline pilot group enjoys. So while the company has initiated a massive effort to convince our customers that they care, the pilots continue to fall further and further behind our peers. If care is more than just another corporate buzzword, then Alaska Airlines needs to care for its employees. The people who made this one of the most successful airlines in the world, the people who were out keeping this airline afloat by working every day through a worldwide pandemic, the people who love what they do, but are tired of hearing how this company is somehow different and can't solve long-standing problems. No amount of Care Bells videos can make up for lack of progress on a meaningful contract. The managers of this company need to show us that care is more than just a hollow advertising campaign, and they need to come prepared to the bargaining table with respect and concern for our issues and proposals. So thank you for supporting your fellow pilots today. Thank you for your unity, and thank you for your tremendous professionalism through these trying times. We will get the contract you deserve, and it will be because of your resolve to make Alaska the great place to work we all know it has the potential to be. The three of us on the negotiating committee know that you won't accept anything less, and we're committed to seeing this to the end.
Hi all, thank you for having me. I am truly humbled to be here and see a room like this. This is the greatest demonstration of pilot unity that I have ever witnessed in my short time at ALPA, and I am very grateful to be here with all of you. For those of you that don't know me, which is most of you, I'm the SPSC chair. My name is Christina Thompson. I'm the SPSC chair for the WestJet pilots in Canada, and I am here on behalf of my MEC to assure the Alaska pilots that we will stand with you and support you until you finally get the contract that you so deserve. I think we all know the success of any airline depends significantly on the contributions of the pilots. However, somehow, both north and south of the border, this profession continues to be deteriorated. Pilots are undervalued, pilots are disrespected, and this continues because the talks stall at the negotiating table, and 3 years is much too long to be in contract negotiations. And I am so humbled and proud to be here with all of you, my colleagues, who stand together in solidarity to show our employers that we know our value and we are willing to fight for it. And thank you for having me, all of you. Thank you.
Wow. All right. Thank you, First Officer Thompson. Really appreciate it. And Chris, you said it all. I mean, outstanding. You know, it's just a real pleasure to be here with you today. And I'd like to introduce a few members of my National Officer team who are with me here today. Captain Joseph Genovese, would you please stand up? Joseph is our Vice President of Finance. singularly responsible after the worst downturn in the history of the aviation world to put us in the strongest position we've ever been in since 1931, both from a finance standpoint and also from a membership standpoint. We've had 8 new carriers come on during COVID, and they're all behind you, by the way. So, and also Captain Russ Skalenka, my executive administrator. Sir, would you please stand up? That gentleman right there is the best damn executive administrator this association has ever seen since 1931. Russ, and I thank you very much for all the hard work you do. He's actually the executive administrator. I know you're executive administrator for Delta, you know how this says, for all my national officers. The man runs this organization every day when I'm out running around doing stuff like this. So, and I know that they feel certain the pride that I'm feeling right now, looking around this room and seeing this kind of a display of unity. I mean, it is incredible. I'm looking side to side. I want to make sure that I see you in that corner and everybody in between. But what I see here today is the fundamental quintessential thing that formed this union in 1931, and that is unity. Unity among more than 800 Alaska Airlines pilots here in Sydney. And you're telling me 1,500 now? 1,500. Correction, Linda. It gets better every minute here. Look, I'm a member of the AFL-CIO. They know what's happening here. This is an inflection point. Your fight is not just your fight. I spent over 4 uninterrupted hours with President Biden 2 weeks ago, and Marty Walsh, the Secretary of Labor. They know what's happening here. They support this effort. I see unity among the Alaska Airlines pilots across the nation right now, as demonstrated by the incredible turnout here, but also in Anchorage, Portland, Los Angeles, and San Francisco. I mean, when have we seen something like this happen before? I mean, you just must be tremendously proud. I know I am. So, but it is all airline pilots behind you right now. It is all of labor watching you right now and supporting you. And I want a special thanks over here because I have to, Casey Murray, Captain Casey Murray, President of the Southwest Pilots Association. Thank you for joining us here today. And Eric Ferguson, Captain Eric Ferguson from the Allied Pilots Association and American. We work together on a lot of labor issues. And I really thank you for being here today. So, but today, our union pilots stand together. We stand together not to ask, but to demand a fair share of our company's success, which we know is made possible only through the commitment of Alaska Airlines pilots. Through the worst downturn, remember the bleak days of COVID? Remember when a vaccine solution wasn't even in sight? Remember when you were going to work not knowing what might happen, right? I hope Mr. Minicucci remembers, because we're here to remind him. You know in the mail when you don't make a payment on time, it says payment overdue? Payment overdue. Mr. Minicucci, I wear a lot of flashy ties. This is a somber one. I'm serious as a heart attack right now. You know, I came out here to do a job with you, with the entire resources of the Airline Pilot Association and the entire resources of the labor movement backing you today. So today, we stand together to demand a safe workplace and the proactive safety culture that can only come with a union contract. And thank you again, airline management, for all the stress that my pilots have been under, to throw a little more stress in here. You know, you talk about attracting pilots. This is no way to do it, but actually it's negative reinforcement. Take a look at the numbers, sir. Take a look at the numbers. If I was a shareholder, I'd be on the phone right now saying, fix it. The world is moving underneath his feet. There's a tectonic shift going on with union labor right now. You better wake up. Today, we stand together to demand the dignity of work that comes with only union representation. Now look, standing together in unity is, after all, the source of our strength as a union. It's a foundation principle, right? It's the quintessential thing that formed this union. The kind of strength and resolve each of you, as evidenced by your sacrifice through the pandemic, is pretty clear. You sacrificed to help save American aviation and position your airline for recovery. I don't know what they're doing with that billions of dollars, but they're not doing the right thing with it right now. But you were instrumental on the backs of labor to recover, to save this airline. You saved this airline. Clearly, it would have faltered. Clearly, it might have gone into bankruptcy. Clearly, it would have restructured. And hundreds of thousands of good aviation jobs would have been lost. You saved that with your sacrifice. Now, after negotiating in good faith for close to 3 years now, right? Close to it. With no contract in sight, Alaska Airline pilots' fight is a fight for all labor. Now, look, I will say this. I see a lot of this, not my first rodeo here, right? Been doing this since 1986. Not unusual for airline managements and employee groups to disagree. Let's be real, right? But it's how each group does that truly is the measure, right? I have to say, for over the 3 years that I've seen and watched this negotiation, ALPA's Alaska Airline pilots have shown the industry and labor movement how to respond when employees don't agree with management. And I have to say, you met it with unshakable professionalism, dignity, and unity. And for Constance, look, you're talking to a jarhead out here, okay? We all know what happened that day, okay? But I gotta tell you, it was sloppy, all right? I'll show you how to do it if you want me to do it, but I'll go down that line and I'll salute every one of these pilots and shake their hands like you should have, instead of trying to get in their face and intimidate them. That is not how you show. And newsflash for management, the other 59,000 members of the Airline Pilots Association, including the pilots of these fine gentlemen over here, are following suit and stand right beside you. Now, as demonstrated by the turnout here today, ALPA pilots from our union pilot groups are standing shoulder to shoulder with you. I hope you really take in the moment of time in which you are now part of history here. This is a shifting, this is the inflection point. Workers all over the world now are sort of waking up a little bit right now. This is a renewal, this is a renaissance of understanding for workers right now. And, I want to tell you, my job, right? My job is to give you every resource you need to win, all right? You got the unity, all right? Now you just need a few of the extra tools, right? And we have the largest toolbox. It's an incredible toolbox. And we're going to be there for you. And we have the experience of 90 years on how to do this. Trust me, I hope you're paying attention out there. If management's watching this today, we're not going to let up. You are going to do the right thing for these pilots. And I will tell you this too, because I hate when I hear this stuff. It should go without saying that the Alaska Airline pilots are committed to service for their airline. They proved it by going to work under the worst circumstances. And this is how it's rewarded? No. Now, they've earned, and we demand that the contract reflects the pilot's roles and responsibility, your regulatory responsibility, your professional duty to get people from point A to point B safely and securely, as well as driving this economy and keeping the supply chain moving. It's so simple. It's so simple. Payment due. So, in other words, a contract commensurate with your contribution. So today, from Seattle to San Francisco and Portland, to Anchorage and Los Angeles. Pilots who fly for Alaska Airlines and their union colleagues call on Alaska Airlines management to bargain a fair contract with their pilots now. Not tomorrow, now, today. Pick up the phone and do the right thing. You deserve the applause. By the way, all right, I'm going to finish with this, okay? Because I can go on and on here because I just, you know, this kind of stuff just gets me, man. It really does. Now, it just does. I mean, it's 2022. I told Marty Walsh this, the Secretary of Labor. I said, you know, we got a Railway Labor Act, but why do companies get to intimidate pilots? Why do they get away with that? You know, we've had, out of the 8 carriers that came into our union, right, 2 of which had previous contracts, so let's put them aside for a second. And the new ones that are coming in, there's 2 more in the hopper right now. You know, every one of those had to experience anti-union activity. It's 2022. It's the same playbook. There's nothing elegant about it. It's the same playbook. I could predict what the next move of every company is going to be as they hear that they might have a union on the property. Get over it. We're here. We're not going anywhere. All right, so look, thank you. It's true, right? Now, I'm gonna finish with this, right? I just said I was gonna finish before, but I didn't. I'm sorry. You know, I'm very proud of the fact that ALPA pilots, right? You know, we have the largest pilots union in the world, the largest non-governmental safety organization in the world, right? And we always choose first to lead through the power of our example, right? But today, we will lead by an example of our power. Thank you very much. Stand united, stand together. Thanks, everybody. That's to yourself. So now, look, I'd like to introduce my dear friend, Captain Casey Murray, President of Southwest Airlines Pilots Association. Eric, please.
Well, it's been said before, but wow, this is what it's about. This is about the definition of pushing the profession forward. It's not just about you, about me. This is about all of labor. Joe has mentioned it, but all of labor is watching. It is an incredible movement, and this is where it starts. So pushing the profession forward, we can talk about that all day, and it is up to each of us. But I want to talk about the individual. I want to talk about the each of us, what it takes for the individual, for each one of you to make the commitment to show up and affect some change. You've got an incredible team here, and they're doing incredible work. All of us are committed to pushing the profession forward. But I know for Chris, seeing this and seeing what it takes for each individual pilot to commit to coming in here, to commit to affecting the change. We're not here because we dislike our companies. We're not here because we dislike management. Matter of fact, most of us love our companies. We see what's wrong. We are the true leaders, not only of the company itself, but every day out there fighting what it takes to get our airplanes from point A to B safely. We can talk about the billions of dollars in liability on every takeoff. We can talk about safety. We can talk about additive conditions, what this does. But again, it's what you do. It's what you have done, making the commitment today. All of your pilots across all of your domiciles today, making the commitment to come out and support. That's what change is about. That's what affects change. Sometimes it takes negative pressure to produce positive results. That's what this is about. That's what we're here for. And listen, there are tens of thousands of pilots. There are millions of organized labor that are watching this right now, that are watching you. And I'm talking again, I want to focus on the individual. Each of you showing up here. That's what gives Chris, that's what gives each of us the power to do what we do, to make that change and to affect that change. You know, if we don't change directions, we're just going to end up where we're headed. And I don't think any of us want to see where we're headed. We want to make that change in course. We want to make that change. And again, it is in support of our companies. It is to make them what we believe they should be, not what they believe they should be. It is about supporting them, and it is about moving forward. We, as tens of thousands of pilots, we are all behind you. But again, we're behind the single pilots that show up here, the single pilots that have made the commitment, that families have made the commitment to affect that change. You know, everyone wants to be a lion, and I'll keep this clean, until it's time to do lion stuff. This is lion stuff. This is what organized labor is about. But again, organized labor is not organized if it's not each one of you. So on behalf of my 10,000 pilots, the tens of thousands of pilots that can't be here today, but that are behind you, we want to say thank you. This is your day. This is your day to affect your life, your career, and your company. You are the on-site leaders day in and day out. You're the on-site leaders today sending the statement. It is all about you. Thank you. Awesome. All right. I want to introduce my esteemed colleague, very dear friend, Captain Eric Ferguson.
Okay, so it's April Fool's Day, right? Clearly, we are not fooling around. That's terrific. I got to tell you, I want to tell you that I'm honored to be here, not just with my brother and sister pilots at Seattle, but also those virtually online from Anchorage and Portland and San Fran and LA, and everybody throughout the country that might be tuning in here with the streaming device here. So we're really, this is amazing. It's a watershed day. It's really not just the lighting of a torch, but of a bonfire. Mind-blowing. Look at this. A 3,000 plus pilot airline turning out this many people. Wow. So I tell you, when I heard about the concurrent 5-base, 5-domicile PDR that was planned, I thought, good luck with that. Holy cow, was I wrong. Unbelievable. I think I even told Will that, but maybe not. So anyway, just honored to be here. One of the things that I always say is that it's our companies that compete and sometimes collaborate, but as labor, we must always cooperate and never compete. We have to stand together to raise the bar all the time. So true unionism, solidarity, and collaboration are fundamental to accomplishing our mutual goals, and of course, the best path to negotiating and ratifying deals that will lead to an improved contract for all. The Allied Pilot Association, again, is proud to be part of this effort. Obviously, there are many carriers in Section 6 right now, and every pilot group has or should have very high expectations. And for that, I don't apologize, and neither should you. And what do I mean by that? I don't apologize for demanding a high wage, outstanding benefits, or quality hotels to allow for adequate rest and non-fatiguing schedules. These are things we all share. But they've come under fire and they're at risk. We're going to turn that around, and now is the time to turn that around. But I always like to think in terms of we don't deserve anything, frankly. We don't deserve any of them. We earn them all of these things. We earn them all every day and without apology. And again, don't think for a moment that our companies cannot afford our demands outright. Frankly, it's tempting to revoke all of our proposals and just turn them up about 30% and say, here you go, that's the price. Let's go from there. So I always like to run a little exercise just to let everybody remember what is at stake. So we'll start with the financial. 737 MAX 9 list for $128.9 million. Let's round that down and be generous. They say they get some discounts, a few million here, a few million there. $125 million at a decent rate of 4% with zero down over 30 years equals $13.62 a minute, every minute for 30 years. That's before you fly it, break it, fix it, fuel it, service it, change the windows, change the tires, change all those things that have to happen. Just the basic capital equipment we operate, $13.62 a minute. Now let's talk about the enterprise value of what you were in charge of by law. 91.3 pilot command, final authority of safe operation of the aircraft in every flight, as you know. So by law, the federal government says, you're in charge, Captain. And after that comes the first officer. And frankly, after that comes our esteemed crew members in the back, in charge of this whole thing. So let's go back to the MAX example. That's 178 seats, I think, configured, the MAX 9, 6 crew. If in a moment of inattention, poor judgment, bad luck, God forbid, should the catastrophic happen, and it does, thank God it's been a while, but it does happen, that's worth about $750 million if you do the math on that, the whole plus the people that you're in charge of by law. Yet Alaska is poor mouthing you at the table, same as American, same at Southwest, same at Delta, same at United. Everybody in Section 6 right now hears, we can't afford it, you're too expensive. By the way, have you seen our brand new aircraft order book? At the same time, that's what they do. So to put it in perspective, the $320 that's on the table that's been proposed by Alaska for a 737 captain, it's $5.33 a minute. That's it, just so you know. That would take the FOs to about $215, $358. Barely half of what it costs just to buy the darn airplane. Think about that for a moment. They can't afford it. They should afford it. They must afford it. This is the price. That's what's required. And again, the benefit, the dividend, is in safety and protection for our precious passengers. Priceless, frankly. I put a number just for the sake of argument, but it's priceless, as we all know. So never forget that. Without apology, we're out there to speak as an industry, shoulder to shoulder, and say, times have changed. Can you hear us now? Thank you very much. And back to another rock star in my book, Captain Will McQuillan, your MEC chair.
Thanks, brother. I appreciate it. Please. Thanks. All right. I don't know how I follow some of those comments, but I do want to close by saying just a few things. If you look at all the men, women on stage with me here out in the crowd, leaders of ALPA, leaders of other Alaska work groups, leaders of airlines outside of the ALPA family, you have to say, why are they here? It's been said today, lots, because your priorities are their priorities. Because we're brothers and sisters united in a common set of priorities, an industry that is safe, rewards those that invest in it with an assurance that their carrier will also invest in them, just as we choose to invest our careers. This is what unionism is all about. Collective resolve and strength in numbers. I'm deeply appreciative not just of your support of this MEC, but also of their support of your goals and tireless efforts. Take a moment, maybe right now, to thank every person you see around you who is not an Alaska pilot. A handful, that'll work. All right. today is an important day. And as I said, your collective resolve in visible form, in tangible form, is all that this management team understands. They will never believe until they see, and I know many of you know that. As I've said many, many times, this management team firmly believes that ALPA has an agenda, that what we advocate for, what we say at the table, doesn't reflect your priorities, but rather is driven by leadership. And that is not how ALPA works, and that is not how this MEC works. Today is the day to show them, as professionals, that what we have said for years at the table rings true. This MEC speaks for this pilot group. And I could not be more proud of this pilot group. I'm moved by your professionalism every day. I and your MEC and all the dedicated volunteers are honored to serve, humbled by your trust. It is an honor. And so I think finally, even though this does mark 3 years of collective frustration, as I always say, the calendar behind us is not what matters. It's the calendar ahead. The solidarity that we see here in this room, the unity that I see displayed today, let's remember that's what's carried this pilot group through a merger, a seniority list integration, and an equally contentious JCBA process when it came to dealing with management. And that is also what's going to carry us through this process. And on that, I have absolutely no doubt. Again, thank you very, very much. Let's do this. Seriously. David, did you? Okay.
Thank you, Will. Thank you to all of our distinguished guests. I really appreciated hearing all of your words. You know, just really quickly, I've been at this company for about 20 years. I've been in ALPA for about 25 years. I've worked under a lot of MEC chairmen, and I've respected all of them. But I have to tell you, we are very fortunate to have this MEC chairman, Captain Will McQuillan, leading us right now. And the same is true for our negotiating committee chairman. I wish you could all see these men working on a daily basis and how much they care about what they're doing and how much they care about this pilot group. And what really gives me the most pride is to be part of this pilot group right now. We are going to make it happen. I promise you that. Well, if you are watching this stream, I'd like to invite you to join us virtually on our Picket by logging on to alaskapilots.org, where you can download some virtual picketing materials. And I'd also like to invite you to join me at 12:30 Pacific time, where we will go live from the picket line in all 5 of our bases. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being here. Thank you in all of our bases. And this concludes the rally portion. Let's get on to the picket.